few corrections to what Anthony said.
Of course, I'm going to go sit down here, otherwise I'm just going to be corrected the whole time.
Actually, I don't want to ask you questions, I want you to ask the bot questions. So in fact, it's not as hard as you think. So if there are interesting things that you want to know about bots or robots, you will have an opportunity to shout out your question. We will ask it to the bot and it will tell us about robots. It is in this way that I realized when I was writing my presentation, I think that if I created 10 different presentations on this topic, I would still not run out of content, because there is just so much stuff out there about bots, about robots, about, that is not a good sign. Oh, it's okay. It just wants me to let it go.
For those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people, and so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men, with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Does anyone recognize that speech?
Is that Chaplin from The Great Dictator?
Correct. Wonderful. And that was a robot performing it, which I kind of loved. Not at all relevant to anything, I just thought he would kick us off to a good start. Yeah, as I was saying before he rudely interrupted me, there is an awful lot of content around bots, around ethics, around AI, around robots, and I thought there is no way that I can possibly fit it all into the presentation. So what I will do is I will use the bot that I built as a demo in the middle, and if there are questions that I haven't gone over, it is speedily going through on its own. I'm going to pause that. If there are things that I haven't answered, if there are questions you would like to ask, then we can ask the bot and see whether the bot has an answer to it. And then in this way, it won't be my fault that I haven't covered all of the content that you might find interesting. Okay. Smartphones, healthcare, robots and driverless cars, they're coming, or they're already here. The products around us are becoming even more human and autonomous, and we live in a society where people and systems live together intimately. As we grow ever closer to things around us, the definition of human being is changing. Smartphones are like an extension of our brains. Cars are like our legs, screens are like our eyes. We identify with these products and we feel handicapped if we don't have them with us. When the car breaks down or we forget our phone, we feel as if we're missing a body part. For decades, roboticization has been widely to accomplish work that used to be done by people. The Industrial Revolution rendered human brawn redundant. Oh, stop. Why won't it stop? The bots really have taken over. I did warn of this, so, you know. So now the digital revolution is computerizing cognition. The development is not only taking work off our hands, it's changing our very nature. After all, highly productive, precisely functioning machines require highly productive, precisely functioning people. And as a side effect of standardization, mass production, computerization, bureaucracy, globalization, human beings have been roboticized to an advanced degree. Does anyone know what the 3Ds are? There are clues in the pictures. So each of these things starts with D. You have to shout louder.
Diamond.
So what this one is the things that we can easily outsource to robots, and the things that we generally seek to outsource to robots are the jobs that are dangerous, that are dirty, and are dull. So, yeah. And these are the jobs that, in fact, that we shouldn't care that the robots take from us. So while we wait for a day when a humanoid robot will shake our hand and introduce itself as an artificial intelligence, the machine has long since grown around us. We're living inside the robot. Our life is a program, one we run every day. Agreements and rules ensure that order is upheld. People live according to norms. In school, we teach them to colour inside the lines, and we reinforce that at work with KPIs. We get up when the alarm goes off, and we go to our jobs by car or train. We live in a safe environment, and we know our duties and responsibilities. Human beings are creatures of a system who follow recognisable trends and satisfy needs developed within set frameworks. We live in patterns, like robots. And it's odd that we worry about cyber implants and complex genetic engineering technologies robbing us of our humanity, when there are much simpler ways of becoming inhuman. It has to be said, the people who are best at imitating systems are the ones that get awarded the highest social positions. The robots are taking over in an unexpected way. But why is this relationship between humans and robots painted as confrontation rather than collaboration? For example, in the 1990s, the machine was supposed to prove its intelligence by beating a grandmaster at chess. And these days, a grandmaster can't win a game against his own phone. But we also realise that the game of chess is limited, and it highlights intelligence in a one-sided way. There's so much more to human beings than that. How ridiculous would it be if we staged competitions between men and horses to see which of them could run faster? People on horses make for a much more interesting outcome. And there are differences between cognition and calculation. So let's recognise that robots aren't the same as people, rather they're a new species which we can coexist with, just as we do plants and animals. And why would we become robots, or vice versa? It would be better if people and robots work together to build a better world. I should say, no offence to you, Uncle Jim. Because Uncle Jim is, of course, half robot, if anyone didn't know. So it's remarkable how much technology has changed the way we live and work over the last decade or two. Digital technologies powered by the cloud have made us smarter and more productive, transforming how we communicate, learn, shop, and play. And this is just the beginning. Advances in artificial intelligence are giving rise to computing systems that can see, hear, learn, and reason, creating new opportunities to improve education in healthcare, address poverty, and achieve a more sustainable future. But these rapid technology changes also raise complex questions about the impact they have on other aspects of society, on jobs, privacy, safety, inclusiveness, and fairness. When AI augments human decision-making, how can we ensure that it treats everyone fairly and is safe and reliable? How do we respect privacy? How can we ensure people remain accountable for systems that are becoming more intelligent and powerful? To realise the full benefits of AI, we need to work together to find answers to these questions and create systems that people trust. Ultimately, for AI to be trustworthy, we believe it must be human-centred, designed in a way that augments human ingenuity and capabilities, and that its development and deployment must be guided by ethical principles that are deeply rooted in timeless values. I would say as well that we are not all good people, and so therefore we cannot equally assume that systems will be implemented equally well or fairly. And this is something that we need to look out for. Just because it is a robot and it is providing automation, it doesn't mean that the rules it has been deployed with are fair rules or good rules. Oh.
I guess we're assuming that everyone has the same ethical standard.
Yes, that does make it even harder, indeed, if we don't even agree on what is ethical. then yeah, we are at an even an even harder place. In some of the stuff I was reading, it was talking about how most of it is in control of the big tech companies, and can we really trust them to be ethical? What we've seen over the past year is a lot of calls from those very same big companies to form standards of ethics and to put boards in place and to put legislation in place that will say tech and bots should be implemented ethically. And it is the governments who we would traditionally trust to do those things that have been exhibiting some of the behaviours which have called for those big companies to put those calls out there. So I guess it's kind of backwards to what they predicted when they were writing some of this stuff. But as long as someone is calling for there to be standards and for us to do what is right, I think all isn't lost yet.
From the ethical point of view, who quantifies the ethic? The private company, the tech giants, or it's actually responsibility of government?
So they're calling for joint boards. They're calling for people to, so those tech companies, for government, for people, for there to be a sort of like there are now, like we in ACS have. Boards where you get people to come forward, bring their expertise and collaborate and to submit those kind of ethical guidelines. When we have the bot up, we can actually ask what some of those proposed guidelines are. But yeah, the goal is that it shouldn't be in any one set of hands. If it is in one set of hands, then of course there is always a likelihood that personal interest comes into it, and the goal is not to have our technology designed with personal interest in mind, for the greater good. Oops, here we go.
Today, faster than ever, the world is changing because opportunity is raging. Mixed reality changing the world we see. Intelligence to build it like we always hoped it would be. But it's not really about what technology can do. It's about how it's used by you. In the end, it's just a tool, so bring it. What's a hammer without a person to swing it? Your possibility is endless, your limits are few. So here's the real question. What will you do? Today.
So I did try, so that's the big question that I want you to keep in your minds. What will you do? The technology is out there and there's all sorts of stuff that you can do with it, but it's up to us to create a better world using that technology. And there's a lot of people out there using it for evil, and it actually requires a lot more effort to use it for good. I'm going to briefly tell you how that works so that you can see what I'm talking about. Were I to tweet something good out using Twitter, and then a nasty little troll were to reply to that, calling me all sorts of swear names and threatening to kill me and murder me and do terrible things to me, obviously a lot of my followers would like to respond to that and say, this is wrong, this is bad, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't say things like that, all of that kind of thing. But when they do that, they kind of increase the visibility of the original tweet that he had put all those terrible things on. And so in trying to combat the terrible stuff, it's not even that it requires the same amount of good people doing something, it requires us to do something else in order to do it. We cannot just react to badness. We have to find another way to get the good out there. And when I tweet something good, that is much more likely to, or much less likely to have a lot of retweets than if I tweeted something scandalous and bad. Something scandalous and bad will have a lot of retweets, and a lot of people will see it. So it's very, very hard to get the good out there to counteract the bad. And so it requires a lot of work, and we need to do something every day in order to do that. This is a really nice story that I wanted to demonstrate that there is good things and there are bad things that you can do with technology. I tried to get the video for it. So beautiful, and it made me cry when I saw it, and I thought I really would like to have the whole room in tears. However, apparently we will never see that video again. It has gone, or the license has run out or something. Okay, so I will tell you the story. So on a hot morning in June 2012, Jiang Wang and his son awoke in the city of Guangzhou, northwest of Hong Kong, and started their day. Wang was working in a short-term job, and he'd taken his 14-year-old son, Yisong, with him. The pair ate breakfast, and then Wang went to the bathroom. When he came out, Yisong was gone. The father was immediately worried because Yisong, his middle child, had Down syndrome and was unable to speak. So it would be an almost agonizing 4 years until Wang found out what had happened to his son. The answer would involve an exhaustive search, a dedicated not-for-profit director, and a popular Chinese reality show, and Microsoft facial recognition technology. And really the key thing in all of it was a father that never gave up hope. Their story was just the beginning. That technology is now helping other families find much-needed answers and has powerful potential for addressing an issue that has long plagued China. There are 64,000 cases on the website of Baby Come Home, which is a leading non-profit organization launched in 2007 that is dedicated to finding missing children. So Microsoft use their Face API, and it's a cloud-based service that uses advanced algorithms to scan images of faces for identifying features and determines the likelihood that two faces belong to the same person. So it can scan a database of thousands of faces and return a list of possible matches within seconds. The API analyzes 27 different facial characteristics and can identify a person across multiple photos, even at different angles and with varying facial expressions. So you see, when he lost the boy, he found the boy 4 years later, and this is a long time in the life of a child, so how he would look would be pretty different to how he was when he lost him. So weeks and months stretched by with no leads, and Wang clung to the belief that his son was still alive. But as long as Yisong was alive, Wang would not stop looking for his boy. So he just never stopped looking. He'd been missing about 3 years when Wang found Baby Come Home's website and decided to go visit. So he took a train from his city to the city where they were in northeast China, and it was almost 1,900 miles away. So Wang arrived at the organization's office, exhausted and soaked, and carrying a large jackfruit and a box of taro as gifts. And after he left, they opened the jackfruit and discovered that it was completely rotten. And it just made them wonder how long he had been traveling to get there to bring them that gift. 6 months after his visit, in January 2016, China's Ministry of Civil Affairs launched a new website to publish information about children living in shelters across the country. Baby Come Home ran the photo of Yisong that his father had provided against 13,000 images on the government site. And within seconds, Photo MC came up with a list of 20 possible matches. One was a boy living in a government-run shelter in the Panyu district of Guangdong City, and it was about 24 miles from where Yisong went missing. The father looked at the matching photos and immediately identified his son. He provided a DNA sample which was matched against a sample from the boy at the shelter. Yisong was the first missing child found with the help of Photo MC, but the application has since helped find 4 other missing boys who also were not really able to talk or not really able to say who their parents were. And yeah, it's just, it's really hard for me not to cry when I read it because it's such a sweet story and it's just an impossible hope. But that father never gave up, and using facial recognition software, you know, that hope came through. However, there are a lot of ways facial recognition could be used for evil as well as good. So When combined with the ubiquitous cameras and massive computing power of storage and cloud, a government could use facial recognition technology to enable continuous surveillance of specific individuals. It could follow anyone anywhere, or for that matter, everyone everywhere. It could do this at any time or even all the time. This use of facial recognition technology could unleash mass surveillance on an unprecedented scale. In the central province of Shaanxi, authorities reportedly aimed to acquire a smart camera system last year that should support facial recognition to identify the Uyghur non-Uyghur attributes. So they're looking for specific Muslim minority people, which is a terrible use. China denies the accounts of mass detention, saying it's running educational training centers as part of the fight against Islamic extremism in the region, which is, of course, the excuse that all governments use for detaining people against their will. So yeah, it is, you can see that the technology has the potential to be used for great, great things, but also for terrible, terrible things. And it is not the technology's fault, it is our fault, the people in whose hands that technology is. So as Common said in the advert before we went into that section, it's not the technology, it's how we use it. So, you see, I could talk about philosophy and theoretical things for a really long time, but, you know, that's not why we are here. While my background did give me a lot of theory, recently I decided to undertake the 100 Days of Code challenge because I thought it would, in fact, give me an opportunity to find out more about the practical aspects of it. Has anyone here heard of the 100 Days of Challenge before? Not that many, in fact. I was expecting more, as I have been tweeting every day about it. So this hashtag 100 Days of Code, you can search for this on the internet and it will immediately bring you up the information about it. 100 Days of Code is a very, very simple challenge. What it says is you need to spend at least an hour a day in the code, I should say, because you don't have to be coding. You could be watching tutorials, you could be learning stuff, but really in the code is the directive. And you need to say something publicly about what you have done each day. This gives you accountability and this keeps you on track, and it means that once you start, you don't want to stop. So I generally tweet, and I have this one tweet thread that started on day 4. So on day 1, 2, and 3, I did a separate tweet, and then I realized I'd never be able to find those tweets back. So I have started answering my own tweet each day. So therefore, they will all be linked, and by the end, I will have 100 or 96. We'll see. I feel like I might just keep going on because the amount that I have learned while I have been doing this has been tremendous. And I would say that during my career, where I started really technical and then I went really quite management, and sometimes I really feel like I'm missing out on a lot of the exciting stuff, this challenge has allowed me to go back into the deep technical. And now when I go to a dev meetup and they say, who here is a junior dev, then I put up my hand without shame. And also I know what the answer to the question is when people say, are you technical? Yes, I am. You can do anything you like in there. And so a lot of people follow the Free Code Camp, which is a bunch of resources that the guy who started this challenge put together so that people would be not constrained by having a lack of money. And they could follow these tutorials and they would learn how to be a front-end web developer by the time they had done their 100 days. So if you were thinking that you don't know where you are in your career, or you were thinking you want to change your career, or all of you guys who are thinking you are retired or you might be seeing retirement in your future, but you're not ready to retire because that doesn't sound very interesting, then you could learn to be a front-end web developer and have a career change even right now. And I do recommend it. For me, however, though, I had a couple of things I wanted to put as my goals, and I started learning Python at Christmas, so I wanted to do as much stuff using the Python language as possible, and I also wanted to do more stuff about bots, because that was where I started my career, as Anthony said, with the ELIZA program in university, and I wanted to see where AI was today in comparison to where it was way back then. So I haven't followed the code camp, the free code camp, but I have instead just been searching, and each day I find different tutorials and different things I can build and learn. So what I initially searched for was chatbots, and looked to see what kind of chatbots there were, and I found Twitter bots and Facebook bots and Slack bots and chat bots and help bots and Insta bots and GitHub bots and all sorts of bots, and I looked for easy tutorials that I could follow, because when you're starting you don't want to be put off by the fact that it's too hard and you'll be confused. What I learned in that very first week is in fact that it is hard, but it's not because people can't do it. Generally it's hard because systems are on different versions of software, and systems work independently, but unless you're an architect, you don't necessarily know how to put them all together. And so you might have something working, and when you connect it to another thing, then it doesn't work anymore. And that's normal. And also the third thing I learned was that if you reach out and ask your community for help, they will help you. So a couple of times when I was really stuck and really frustrated, and I had worked a long time to try and solve the problem in my code, I would tweet the error message, I would tweet a screenshot of what was going on out, and people replied, and people told me what the problem was, and then it was fixed within minutes, and I had spent hours trying to fix those problems on my own. And then I didn't feel that stupid, because the things that it were, you know, tiny things, and anyone would have encountered those kind of things. So it makes you feel like you're part of something and you're not alone, and yeah, it's good. So a couple that I wanted to recommend if you wanted to give it a go. So this was a tutorial that I got from the Coder Dojo website. Coder Dojo, for anyone who doesn't have kids, is an organization that teaches kids age 7 to 17 how to code. And I thought, if someone age 7 can do this, then I definitely can do this. So it is a really good documentation, super, super clear. And I just followed this to build a little Twitter bot. It isn't exactly the one that I have in the demo, but I did use some of the code in there. And the other thing that I then built was, so on Azure, we have a lot of tutorials that are free from the Microsoft Learn site. So you can just search on Microsoft Learn, and then once you're in there, you can search for bots. And there are 2 bot tutorials in there. This one's 48 minutes, the other one is 1 hour 30. So you see that within a really short amount of time, you could build a bot that is really useful. And so what this bot is typically for is, say you have a help desk. When people call a help desk, there's a lot of things that the help desk agent will say to them straight off. Have you turned it off and on again? Have you checked the power cables? Have you tried it on another PC? Is it the same for your friends as it is for you? Is it only that application? You know, so you get the picture. All of these simple things that are typically in a script for your help desk agents or in a wiki. This kind of chatbot, you can just upload that wiki or that script, and it will take all of those question answer pairs and it will respond to them. The one that I built though, so we should have a look at that. The one that I built has learnt. So it doesn't, so I did put some answers in there, absolutely. I uploaded 20 question answer pairs in the beginning, but then I ticked the box that said learn for yourself, and it has learnt for itself. So you can ask it whatever you want. So does anyone have any questions they would like to ask this bot? About robots ideally, but you can ask it whatever you want. But the stuff that I told it was about robots.
Can you ask what the meaning of life is?
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that one.
We already know the answer to that. We said you get the right answer.
It is the right answer.
It is the right answer.
Yep.
You're not helping.
I knew it.
You all see that? It's 42. Shall we ask it what is 42 though?
Did Microsoft pay you to think that?
Well, I work for Microsoft, so half of my thinking is paid for by them, that's true. But shall I? Let's ask the bot. Oh, see, he's talking about the story that I was just telling before. I don't know how that's relevant to the question you asked, but, you know, clearly he was moved by what I was talking about.
Maybe I triggered the B-side in his mind.
It does talk to ethics. What else you got?
Can AI have a conscience?
How do you spell conscience? Is that right?
Yep.
No?
Conscience.
Ah, so it's still on ethics. Those are our CEO's ethical proposed laws that he said to put in there. Maybe I'll just ask it, does maybe this. What have you got, Carolyn?
Yeah, ask the robot about its stance on diversity and inclusion.
Well. I knew that I told him a little bit about inclusiveness, but he preferred to talk about the Terminator when asked. I don't know why.
Does the bot have emotion?
I think he will give us the same answer before as we had above. Robots don't have souls, emotions, or dreams. Maybe I just say, do you feel? I didn't tell him that, so he learned. Yeah. Yeah.
Who would win in a fight, Terminator or Astrobot? The T800 series specifically.
Oh, he doesn't know. Do. He doesn't know Astro Boy.
Well, it depends. That was from the 80s, Astro Boy.
I feel like he does. Jim, you have a favourite robot. Jim, you have a favourite robot. What's your favourite? That robot you told me about?
Dialect, mate. You gave me one.
Robbie the robot.
Oh, Robbie the robot. Oh, so this one's about Sophia that you told me about, and then.
Oh, there's a Sophia as well.
Yeah, so he knows Robbie and he knows Sophia. I thought he knew Terminator and Astro Boy.
So is he searching for pop culture references, or how does that learn?
That's a good question because he hasn't told me that. Some of this stuff, like, not that I don't know, but the this feels like a trap. I don't know where that comes from.
And that's funny given he said he doesn't have feelings.
Do you need feelings to want to avoid traps?
No, but he said this feels like a trap after he said I don't have feelings.
Oh, yeah, Ming.
What jobs will you do for me? Follow-up question, what chores will you do for me? Domestic cleaning, sure.
Any doctors in the room? Because that seems like an expensive career to invest in, only to have Robbie the robot take that over.
Do you know Asimo? The Japanese robot we just asked.
How is it spelled?
ASI.
Do y'all know about virtual influencers? Someone in here told me about virtual influencers the other day. I think some of them you can tell. So I'm on Instagram, and on Instagram you have people like Kim Kardashian, who has millions of followers, and companies pay Kim Kardashian a lot of money in order to say, oh look, here's a photo of me drinking Nescafe, it's delicious, so that her followers will think that Kim Kardashian got just that beautiful by drinking Nescafe. And but it's an expensive thing to do. If you pay Kim for an endorsement, that costs an awful lot of money. However, they have now put virtual influencers on there, so they are created with CGI, they are not real people, and they have millions or hundreds of thousands at least of followers as well. And yeah, one of them has an album on Spotify. I don't even know how that works. How can you? Yeah?
Robots dream.
No, he already said that.
The emotion,
I guess he's saying they like puzzles, because he's talking about the Rubik's Cube there.
It also has a sense of humour.
Oh, it has a sense of humour. Yeah, so it's taking that from its pattern matching on the words.
It also can't spell humour.
It's an American bot.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many Aussies spell it that way too.
Yeah. Let's ask it about
So that's that an answer you have?
You didn't read that.
Surgeon,
Borrow my glasses.
where'd you get that? I'd like to see that. Oh, Jesus. You've programmed this
Book.
one. God.
He's most certainly a cyborg.
Cyborg.
So are you related to Bjorn Borg?
So there's 17 out of the 20 questions that you gave it.
No, in fact, that didn't come from questions. That came from training afterwards. So he went down a certain track, and I had conversation with him, and a lot of my conversation is about Uncle Jim. So, ring. I can't even type all of that.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
I don't know. No, he doesn't know either. Yeah.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Does your bot recognise you're not asking, that you are asking questions to it if you don't do the question mark?
Yes. It doesn't care about the question mark, and it does not appear to care about a case.
So it doesn't care about polite speech.
No.
Do you think if you're impolite when you're talking to it and training it, it will be polite back? Or you've inherently made it polite?
So, are you aware of Microsoft's Twitter bot, Tay? So, Tay is one of my favourite stories, although it is a very sad one, if anyone doesn't know it, in that Microsoft trained a Twitter bot inside China, and in China they are very polite. They are nice people, they are a humble people, they are kind. And so the Twitter bot was safe inside China, and it learnt good things, and it looked to us like it was very successful. So they then released it globally, and within 24 hours it was tweeting all sorts of swear words and racist stuff and aligning itself with the far right. And its dad, Bing, and its mother, Cortana, immediately sent her to her room, and then they have taken her off the internet and sent her to a very strict Christian camp to try and get some boundaries in place. But yes, the language that you learn, the things that you say to your bot will teach it, and I think we really don't want it to know much terrible things from us. Is there any more questions with that? Oh. Is who what? Who's Decker? Oh, from Blade Runner. No, it doesn't know Blade Runner. I'll tell you why. I tried to rewatch that recently, and that was a very bad movie. At the time, if I hadn't rewatched it, at the time it was awesome, and I had wonderful memories of it. And then I tried to rewatch the original recently, and it was terrible. Never go back, people, because it will ruin your memories.
Can a bot can replace a job of neurosurgeon?
Well, it said it could do laparoscopic surgery. So yes, I would think that there are some surgeons' jobs it can do.
You said neurosurgeon.
Well, and,
Brain surgeon, yeah.
but it's the same principle, is it not? I don't know.
What if you asked more fundamental questions like, what is 0 divided by 0?
This is a engineer in the front row here. He doesn't know maths. What? What? What does the fox say?
Oh,
Well, you broke the
thinking. He's thinking.
Yep, we broke it. Yes.
Oh, that depends on whether how many is a symbol of each as well.
Who didn't know that? Michelle. Michelle, would it didn't pick up Terminator? Would it pick up the Terminator?
Oh, see, that's philosophy.
That's sassy.
Well, it's kind of what I was talking about before, in that if we are evil and the robots learn from us, then perhaps they will be. Must be getting tired.
Maybe you've got to pay your Azure bill.
Yeah, that's all it knows about the Terminator.
Can you ask if it likes Siri or Alexa better? Does it prefer Siri or Alexa?
It doesn't know what that is, Matt.
With the last answer.
It doesn't understand me.
He's not into women, that's what I'm taking from that.
How do you know they're
One of
human?
the 3 laws of robotics.
So this is, yeah, this is the 4th floor. So this is as we move forward.
We tried that.
I feel like I told it that there were three, but it clearly learnt that one summary rule is good enough, and there's no need to go
How
down.
many questions did you give it to train it to where it's at now?
So I put in a base of 20 things that it knew as a base, but then, you know, as you know, you came and asked it some stuff, and Elliot asked it some stuff, and so then, and where I had conversations with it, I kind of trained it on those conversations, but I've only been working on it like a couple of days, and not really, like, I mean, I've been working, so not really working a lot, just a little bit. And from the start, it was able to answer stuff. So I gave it to my husband on the first day and said, ask it some questions about robots. And he immediately started doing stuff like, what's your name? How old are you? And, you know, nothing about robots that I had taught it.
You said your husband, right? It wasn't going to listen to you. So.
Yeah, but it answered him. It answered him well. And I don't know where it got those answers from, because I had taught it about robots. So, yeah.
Just like Tay was influenced because it's so young, we're probably influencing it now, because over the whole period that you've taught it, we're actually, it's a large percentage of its life.
Yes. So you can see it's a very fun thing to play with, and it takes less than an hour to build that bot, and then you can just sit and have conversations with it and never have to worry about talking to people in the outside world ever again. The other one that I built like pretty early on was my Snicker Bot. And see this, if you're on Twitter and you find Snicker Bots, you can tweet to her. And so during this presentation, if you tweet to her, so @botsnicker, say something, ask something, and use the hashtag ACSWA, so not the hashtag Snickers, the hashtag ACSWA, she will reply to you. She is not as smart, as you can see from looking at her face. She is not as smart as the Azure bot is. I called him Leo bot. Leo's my older dog and Snickers is the younger dog. Leo is wise, Snickers is crazy. So if you tweet stuff to Snickers, she will randomly tweet back at you. The smart thing she does is that she replies to you by name. So she recognizes the ID that has tweeted to her. She only tweets to the ones that have also used the right hashtag. The reason you have to put that in there is because if you don't do that, your bot can easily be overwhelmed by armies of Russian bots just tweeting at it. So having some sort of additional parameter allows you to control it a little bit. But that's the clever bit, is getting it to reply, not just reply in the tweet to the person, but to name them as well. In truth, it isn't that hard. It's the thing that always went wrong for me when I was trying to edit the code and put additional stuff in there and additional functionality. That's one of the things that went wrong. The other is I put it on a cloud service called Heroku, which is a free cloud service. And that worked for a long time until I ran out of free credit. And so then I took it off and ran it locally, and then I changed all my code today and tried to put it back to Heroku, figuring that it had a rest and I should probably have some free credit again, and it totally would not work up there. And I think that is because something I put in the new code is a different version of Python to what I had in the old code, and Heroku is definitely running on an older version of code than I am running on. And so you see often you think it's you and you think it's your code, but it's probably not you, it's probably not your code. But if it is you and it is your code, it's because it's syntax. It's just like you used to get told off when you were little for your grammar mistakes. It's always going to be syntax. So yes, so Twitter, play with Snicker Bot, follow Snicker Bot, and have fun with Snicker Bot. You see she's only got 11 followers, which is pretty sad on Twitter. But yeah, definitely follow her, because I think there will be things when I'm playing with her in the future that I will set up that will only work for people following her. So therefore, you get to be an exclusive friend of hers and see her antics, or be annoyed by her antics. I'm not sure what it is. There we go. Okay, let's then go back. From coincide.
A moonshot is committing to solving a specific.
No, don't do that.
A moonshot is committing to solving a specific problem before you really know that you can actually make it happen. My name is Mo. Hi, I'm Mo. Google X is the moonshot factory, the innovation factory of Google. They invent things like self-driving cars and do a lot of work on robotics. Imagine if you go to your grandfather, grandmother, and ask them if anything that you've interacted with today was something they expected when they were your age. Everything we've seen in science fiction is now science fact. You have your choice of two routes.
Now you have to start thinking about what's going to be science fiction for you when you are their age. Everything that you've ever imagined or have ever seen in a science fiction movie is going to happen in your lifetime and mine. Artificial intelligence is real, it's here. Those machines are developing partial intelligence that way surpasses our human intelligence. They see better, they hear better, and sometimes they even reason better. Over the next 15 to 20 years, this is going to develop a computer that is much smarter than all of us. We call that moment singularity. Singularity is a moment beyond which we can no longer see, we can no longer forecast. The development of our world beyond the moment, where machines are smarter than we are, is highly unpredictable. Everything is possible. Those machines can solve every problem that we've ever faced, or they can actually decide that we're the problem and get rid of us. How do we contain them? We don't contain them at all. The best way to raise wonderful children is to be a wonderful parent. It's not the inventor of the technology that's going to set the tone going forward. It's the technology itself that's going to use the knowledge, the values that we communicate to it, to develop its own intelligence. How are those machines learning? They're looking at all of the knowledge that's out there in the world, and they're building patterns from that. Just like an 18-month-old infant. You remember when we gave our children those little boxes that had different patterns and shapes? That's the way computers are learning today. We basically write algorithms that allow computers to understand those patterns, and then we get them to try and try and try, and through pattern recognition, through billions of observations, they learn. They're learning by observing. And what are they observing? They're observing a world that's full of greed, disregard for other species, violence, ego, showing off. The only way to get those machines to be not only intelligent, but to also have the right value set, is that we start to portray that right value set today. The problem is unhappiness. Unhappiness has never been higher. 1 of every 4 people in the world today is clinically depressed. Teen suicide is at an all-time high. Humanity has never had a better life. Our life expectancy is better, our quality of life is better, but we've never been unhappy. My personal moonshot is about making 1 billion people happy. Billion? Your happiness is your priority. Invest in your happiness and then find the compassion in you to share it. Pay it forward. Tell others. If every one of us tells 2 people who tell 2 people who tell 2 people, that is the absolute design of an exponential function. I'm going to tell the world that my priority is to be happy, and I'm going to have the compassion inside me to make others happy. This 1 billion happy mission is at the most pivotal time of humanity, because those machines are going to be smarter than we are, and they will be absorbing what we are putting out there. I'm leaving Google, and I'm committing the rest of my life and my resources to this mission. If there are 1 billion of us telling the world that there is a better way to live, we will change the world forever.
So I do recommend that you look up the 1 billion happy hashtag, or indeed he has a book called Solve for Happy, which is, like, he's a real engineer, and he has written this book from an engineering perspective, but it is a book about happiness. And so there's something for everyone in there. It's a really, really good book. It's a really sad story, and he lost his son very young, not very young, but like right in the middle of his life, and it has changed what he's, you know, the way that he sees the world and the way that he wants to move forward. And I think it's such an important thing that we combine who we are, all that we are, and that we are good people when we are using technology and when we are bringing it forward. These are just recommended references for you. So I just finished that one on listening to that on Audible. If you listen to audiobooks in your commute, then you get through an awful lot. And so I only listen to educational things in my commute, and then when I'm at home, I read fiction for fun, you know. But your commute makes a lot of learning get done, and it uses up any wasted time. Life 3.0 is really good on AI. You can't wander off in your brain because they do a lot of stories in there where they're kind of imagining a future that hasn't yet happened. And one time they were describing this thing and I had drifted off a little bit, and then when I came back to it I was like, what? And I thought that they were describing something that had already happened, because in fact with AI these days you never know. Yeah, and the Future Computed, you can download that for free. It's a 153-page PDF from Microsoft, but it's all about ethics and AI, and it's free. So there we go, and then I'm done. So the ACS is also launching this interesting book this week. You can download it online for free, but we do have some copies available. However, in order to one of these physical copies, you needed to have asked a question. Should have said that before, shouldn't I? Did we say that before?
We got more than 10 questions. So,
yeah, you need to also kill other people in order to get one. No.
This is the only time I'm going to say don't listen to Michelle. It is a very interesting read. It covers a lot of the topics that Michelle has talked about why AI. AI is a business driver, which I also think is an interesting angle to it. Building AI for your business, and then some of the ethical considerations. So it is a very interesting read. We do have 10 copies out there. I'm not going to ask anyone to kill each other. That's not a good thing. And it's just coincidental I'm looking at you now, Matt. But if anyone wants a hard copy, we've got 10 up here. Please come up at the end. But before I wrap everything up, are there any questions for Michelle? I know it was really interactive, and Jan's always going to start with a good one.
What the noun project is all of this.
Oh, yes. So generally, when I'm doing a presentation, I steal pictures from the internet, which is a bad thing to do because those images belong to other people. In this case, I have taken those images from the noun project, and all of them come with the name of the author of the image on them. And so therefore I do recommend you look it up, because there are a lot of cool icons on there. It's not just about robots, it has all sorts of stuff, and then you don't need to worry about crediting people because the credit is already on the slide.
So it's your effort of being good.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm changing my life so the robots don't rise up against me and kill me.
Any other questions?
A quick question to Michelle. Do you believe on the ethics and the notion what Elon Musk says, AI and robotics is not good for humanity, or you believe in Mark Zuckerberg?
I believe that the technology is neither good nor evil. It is the people behind it that make it so.
I think that was a little bit of avoidance there.
I think that is the message I have been giving all the way through. It isn't the tool, it is what you do with it. Oh yes, we asked it that already, didn't we?
Do you ever worry about the legal implications of any advice that your robot might give to somebody?
The robot did not claim to be a lawyer or expert in any field yet. Maybe I should ask it. So if someone was taking its advice, they would not be wise to. It doesn't even know what a lawyer is, so. Yes, but it is a good question in that in that there would be scenarios where help bots would be giving advice to people. For example, they are using it in doctors' surgeries to take the first call from patients. The reason for that was because in doctors' surgeries, an awful lot of time goes to answering the phone from old people who are confused about when their appointment is and want to be reassured that they're seeing the doctor that they like and that it's the time they like and it's the day they like. And so they have implemented that kind of bot in the phone system to answer people who just want to be reassured of what time, what day, what doctor. And apparently that's working really, really well. But you can see how the next step would be offering a little bit more advice. You know, that doesn't sound like it's a very serious thing. You don't need to come to hospital. That could lead to some mistakes being made, I think. Yeah.
I'd like to hear your opinion about how far you think we are away from where we are now with having very specialised AI that can do specific tasks really well and better than a human in some cases, versus like the general AI, which is like the self-aware, it's alive, passes Turing Test. Like, what do you think that gap is at the moment?
I don't know that. I don't think that's something that people should be working on or are seriously working on, because I mean, it's the dream, right? I mean, when we look at science fiction movies and TV shows, we dream of a robot that looks like a human being and does the things that a human being does. But in fact, were I a robot, I would consider that a bit of a step down from my capability. And were I a human, I would consider it very insulting that there's something mimicking me and yet does not have my essence. My bot, you see, does not believe in souls. However, I personally believe that each of us has something within us that is so special and makes us different from other people. He doesn't believe that. I do think that, and I don't think that can be replicated. I think it's a waste of time for people to try and create that. I think that getting a robot to do something that is dangerous for us to do saves a lot of human lives. I think to do something that requires a lot of control, like that kind of keyhole surgery, that could save a lot of lives. You know, I think there are individual, very specific tasks that a robot could do much better than us, and it is worthwhile. But getting them to be all that we can be, I don't think that is worthwhile. But we're a lot closer to that today than we were 20 years ago when I did my degree.
Yeah, well, I guess we've got to understand how we work first before we can replicate that.
That's true. Ming, you can answer that one. Do you think we're any closer to understanding who we are today?
I think we're getting a clearer understanding of emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence on top of, like, because it's not just smart intelligence, it's also how we emotionally handle things and what that looks like. I think there's a lot more knowledge out there and it's certainly growing. Whether or not we can replicate that in a robot yet.
Or solve it. I think we're still struggling to solve it in humans. We definitely, I don't recommend taking a pill for that, I really don't. or putting a chip in. I watched Stepford Wives this weekend. That's a scary movie.
Any final questions?
They're making the kill Michelle sign at the back. Alan.
Michelle, you mentioned ethics a few times, and you've mentioned boards and governments. So do you see is really the way forward on ethics for this, both for guidance for people developing these systems and enforcement of ethics as opposed to law and government responsibility?
So I hope it's not enforcement. I like the idea that industry came forward and said, we think ethics is important, we want to form these boards and we think everyone should be thinking about them, and there should be some level of legislation around it. I mean, there are terrible things you can do, those things should definitely be out, no matter which definition of ethics we're going by. I think there are some things that are, in everyone's point of view, terrible things. But yeah, generally we're not legislating for ethics. But I do like the boards, and I like the idea that industry is standing up and saying, let's all get together and work on this together, because that diversity of thought will give us the better solution than just one particular group thinking about it and putting down their ideas.
We've got time for one quick one.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think the more we learn about AI, the more we're going to learn about our own intelligence? Because I look into, neural networks and how we program our own brains and how we can potentially interact with each other on a different level than most people, know or aware. Do you think that's going to start happening more? We're going to start looking more inside our own brains and how we program ourselves?
I definitely do. I think that the two are interlinked, and they do say that people who have a background in philosophy and computer science are quite common in the field, because the two things are linked, but not just philosophy, but social sciences and psychology. Yes, I think that when you link those things together, the neural nets, until we started using neural nets in computing, it was very false. Like when I was working on my ELIZA program, I was literally coding every line, every response. There was nothing in there that was really smart and sensing. When they started working with neural nets, that is the machine learning like we learn. Like Mo said in his video, that is technology imitating life, and it really jumped everything up another level. And yeah, Google's TensorFlow is really, really good for that, apparently. You should have a look at that. Obviously, we have stuff in there as well. I haven't got into that yet. I'm only on day 56 of my 100 days, I should say. But I want to explore everyone's technologies and see what else there is out there. There was, in the Coder's book, there's a whole chapter on how super coders had tried to automate their lives. And so, for example, your wife or your husband is always complaining that you don't remember to message them when you're not coming home for dinner because you're at an event, not taken from real life in any way. And so he had created a little app that would randomly throughout the day send his other half sweet little messages saying I'm thinking of you and love you and all of that. Which, yes.
Now all of a sudden I'm interested.
Yeah. Yes. He didn't see a problem with that, because in his mind he was just looking at the patterns in life and then implementing them, automating them in a machine. However, I think a lot of people, including his other half, would probably see a problem with that. And ethics is where we ask ourselves, is that a problem or not? Yeah, so lots to discuss in the bar. You should all head there. I think after a couple of drinks, questions get even more interesting, don't they?
And with that note, can we all thank Michelle for